could do 30 estimates a day from my desk. And we sold jobs that we never even saw until we showed up to do them. I could have never done 30 quotes a day with a pencil. It wouldn't have been possible.
You're listening to The Roofr Report, the ultimate podcast for roofing professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs. Get insider access and hear about the highs, lows, and tales of triumphs from thriving business owners. Brought to you by Roofr, hosted by Pete McKendrick.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Roofr Report. I'm your host, Pete McKendrick. And we are back with another Roofer of the Month. This has been an incredible series for us that we've done here over the last 2 years. And, we've talked to some incredible roofers, everybody from people who have started companies a few months ago to people who have been in business for a long time and, some legacy businesses. So we're super excited here today to hear the story from a duo here that I was happy to meet. Welcome to Carrie and John McClung. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
A couple of years ago, and when I was able to kind of learn a little bit about the company then, but I know you guys have been great users of our product and, and have had a lot of input into the way our product has evolved, over time. And I see your names pop up quite often, people talking internally, saying like, oh, I talked to them, so super excited to dive into it here. So tell us a little bit about McClung Roofing. How long have you guys been in business? How big are you? Like, how many employees do you have? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've been in business 21 years, I believe. I had roofed for a summer and went on to do other things. I became a machinist and I made jet engine parts for years until September 11th happened and nobody wanted to fly. And about 200 of us lost our jobs. I ran a roofing company briefly for a guy that I knew. He was crooked. He gave terrible advice and it just lacked the integrity for me to stay. So I quit and I took two of his guys and I started a little roofing company. And that was a long time ago. It was a lot of hard work in the beginning. It's still hard work, but it's more streamlined.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk to companies that have been in business as long as you guys have, because you're, like I've been on the roofing side now 8 years and I've seen an incredible evolution of the way roofing companies are made and the money that they make and the technology that they use. And so I can only imagine what it was like 21 years ago versus today for you as a roofing owner, right?
The shingle square price is different than it was 21 years ago.
That's very true.
I charged $135 a square turnkey. My shingles were $35 a square.
Yeah, that's great.
It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy the difference, right? And there probably was very, very little, if any, technology used at that point, right?
Oh,
that's right. I was using, I bought my bid books at Staples or Office Depot. I had a rubber stamp made with my name on it. I would stamp the top of it and handwrite every quote. And we barely evolved from that before we found Roofr, in fact. So 2 years ago, we were typing up bids in Word and sending them to our customers. And we discovered you guys, and it revolutionized how fast we could do a quote and how accurate and generate a material list. We were handwriting them 2 years ago, our material list.
It's crazy because you think about it, right? Like if the old saying, like if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And you guys were obviously successful for a long number of years doing it that way. Back when I first started, a lot of contractors were in a similar situation, right? I've been in business 18, 20 years. I've been doing it like this. I'm successful like this. So I find it very interesting. What was the catalyst to make you guys decide to look at tech? Because obviously you were successful the way you were. Carrie was.
Yeah. Carrie was the catalyst.
Carrie was the catalyst. Right.
I could see that this was not sustainable to continue doing it the way we were doing it. And, when John started, he was chucking a truck, literally. He was a one-man show. He answered the phone going down the road.
Yeah.
There was no one but John, everything. And so I had my own career. I was doing something else, although I kind of helped with the books a little bit at home. And every night about 7:00, John would have to go down to his office and work on tomorrow's to-dos after he received all the pictures of handwritten notes from the guys. So every night, if we were at, we'd have to make sure we were home from dinner by a particular time, or if we wanted to watch a movie, we had to wait till, he was done with his nightly to-do list for the next day. And I was like, this is not sustainable forever. And we gotta figure out another way. And he did not, he was like, this works and I know it works. And I don't know. So we looked at AccuLinks several years before you were on the scene, and he couldn't wrap his head around how that could maybe work. And we just skipped it. We was like, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for technology at that time. And that was a good 5 years before Roofr came on the scene that we looked at it and decided against it. So then I was like, okay, we got to figure something out here. And then we were going to RoofCon, and I was like, okay, we're going to RoofCon. Let's look at some other options. We looked at Job Nimbus and others, some of your competitors while we were there, and bounced from booth to booth, figuring out what can we do and what can John live with. And ultimately we decided on you guys. And now John would never turn back.
That's
he
right.
would never go back to that nightly list ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a huge surge in work last year. And I mean, you're familiar with Helene and all the things that happened.
Yeah.
We got the worst of that.
Yeah, you guys were ground zero for that kind of,
Yeah, our customers were so gracious too. Makes me want to cry a little bit, but they would cry on the phone and we would too, it's hard. But but anyway, I could do like 30 estimates a day from my desk, and I would send them to people and say, I know you need your estimate. I'm happy to come see you. Overjoyed to, but I can get 30 people what they need from here, or I can go see 5 or 6 of you. And we sold jobs that we never even saw until we showed up to do them.
Oh, wow.
They would just sign it and send it back. We had a good name already in the community, but I could have never done 30 quotes a day with a pencil. It wouldn't have been possible. Initially, it released some free time after we got used to it. And then it allowed us to do the work of 3 or 4 people. Revolutionary for us.
Yeah. And we kind of breezed over that at the beginning, but you guys are based out of Asheville, right? And so obviously Helene had a huge impact on you at that area, right? And I came through there, I want to say about maybe 6 or 8 months ago. We drove through there coming from Florida, and you still see it right every day there. And so it's interesting that you guys were able to potentially help more people, right? Because of having the technology involved and being able to access it quicker, and get things done a little quicker. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, particularly with even like some roads you couldn't even access someone's home yet to go out and look, Yeah, there's some rural areas that are still not completely accessible. So
that's
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
There were trees across the road that I had to climb over. I had to park a half mile away from one house and climb over trees with my ladder, and they had no power. They had a tree through their roof, and it was just the scale was so big. Yeah. It wasn't one unique.
Wasn't a neighborhood.
You really did a number on your house. It was neighborhoods.
It's funny. I talk about how, we moved here about 1.5 years ago to Kentucky, and we were hit with a hailstorm, which was very out of the ordinary here. And there's tons of houses damaged, right? And roofers are saying like, oh, it's going to be 5 years before we can get everybody's house fixed, and I think that was just a little hailstorm in comparison to what you guys had. Like you said, trees through roofs and things, a much, much more catastrophic event than what we experienced. So I can only imagine the extent of the damage and the amount of people, in need of some significant help, right?
Yeah. We had a friend that was rescued off of her roof. The water was up to her soffit.
Wow.
And had another friend drown. So it was just crazy. Very sobering. And to have no power, some people didn't have power for 3 or 4 months. It's just.
And water, the city's water system had been.
Went down.
Yeah, just completely compromised. Yeah.
So something we were able to do as a company during that time was our office is in a home outside of the city, and we had a well. And so we were able to open it up to the community and let people come do showers and laundry.
Oh, wow.
Inside of our office building. And we had power. We got power back pretty quickly. So we were able to be up and running pretty quickly compared to a lot of other people and continue serving the community with roof needs as well as water.
Yeah, we had 2 showers and a laundry, and we would block off 2-hour blocks for families and kept its own calendar. And people would come in. We still had the living room in the house with a TV and a couch. So the kids would sit in there and watch TV. Mom and dad would shower and do laundry.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty arm in arm kind of time.
That's one thing that we use our roofing company to serve the community. That's part of our philosophy and the way we run our company. And we're kind of taking a pivot on, what our company is about, but so that's just kind of our worldview. We don't live to roof,
right?
Roofing is just how we fulfill what we're supposed to do in this world. So
we roof to live and to love people well.
Yeah. I mean, this is great because this is, something that we talk about quite often is, I think an overlooked part. And I think more and more roofers are starting to realize it. But, is like being that neighborhood roofer, right? Is being that person in your community, that these people can look to as a trusted company, as a trusted authority to help them in a situation of need, right? I saw it here, just a little hailstorm and it's just flooded with people from out of town. And, one of the local roofers, made a couple posts on Facebook and just said like, hey, think about it like this. If that person comes in, they may give you a better price and they may fix your roof. But if 6 months from now, your roof is leaking, do you really think that person is coming back from 1,000 miles away to help you? Right? Mm-hmm. Versus me who has an office down the street. And he got me thinking, like how important it is to have that community relationship as the roofer, but also for the customer, right? How important it is to have that person just be down the road, right? And then for you guys to be able to do some stuff like that for the community and give back, it's just a huge, huge part. It just shows like how much you as a company care about the community as a whole and, how ingrained in it you guys really are.
Hey, Carrie, talk about some of our outreach stuff that we do.
Yeah, we every October we do a breast cancer for a local nonprofit fundraiser. So based on our sales in October, we give, a percentage to a local nonprofit for breast cancer. We do a backpack giveaway at school time in August.
We did like 1,000 backpacks.
Oh, yeah, wow.
We huge turnout this year. Walmart actually jumped in and donated money to help give backpacks. So,
oh wow, very cool.
Our daughter's our marketing person, and she's a networker. So, she's going to the chamber meetings and telling people what we're doing, and people want to get involved. And we're like, there's a lot of people who want to serve the community and partner with other businesses. And so that kind of opened up this past year. And with Helene, people were a lot more community minded than they had been. And so that's something we do. And, we just did a Christmas shop at a local elementary school so the kids could earn jingle bills and buy for their families. And we just like to do things that aren't necessarily our target demographic. They're not going to buy a roof from us,
right?
But potentially, but people don't care really about your roofing skills. Really, not at the end of the day. They want to know like, that's a company that cares about people. So when I need a roof, I want to go for the guy who, my sister had breast cancer. So they're supporting breast cancer. I want to support them, So it's marketing, but it's also our heart. It's just what we do. But a big chunk of our marketing budget goes to the community.
Well, it's huge, right? Because it's, still so much of our business too is word of mouth referrals, right? And the fact that you guys are trusted in the community and they know you're going to give back and you're a part of the community, right? Is going to go a long way. Like you said, maybe those people will never buy a roof, but if someone ever asks them about a roofing company, guess whose name they're going to remember, right? And so
John will go in the bank and they go, "You gave my kid a backpack last year," and
that's awesome.
They might be a renter. They're never going to buy a roof, but they remember that. So,
well, and it's just great that you're able to leverage the company in that way and be able to give back to the community as a whole, right? Whether it ends up being leading to a sale or not, the fact that you guys are able to utilize the company in that way is fantastic.
We love it. If we didn't have that part, I don't think we would feel fulfilled in what we do. We're keeping people's families safe and dry. That's in our little jingle, our marketing, to keep your family safe and dry. John McClung Roofing, I'm not going to sing it for you, but
why not?
It'll be in your head all day if I do, but it works. Hey, other roofers, jingles work. There's not anybody else in our market, I don't think, that has a jingle, but it has been one of the best things we've ever invested in.
That's
other than the community.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's just memorable, right?
We turned it into a TV commercial. So they use the same jingle and put television to it. So it's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat. Yeah.
John has a sense of humor too. So our advertising also often has humor. So at the end of the TV commercial, he's got pretty white teeth. There's a little sparkle on his
Bing, make my
People love
kitchen
that. They're
sparkle.
Yeah. All that stuff is memorable stuff, right? It's stuff that,
Yes.
those people in their head, they'll remember all that stuff. So yeah, that's great.
I even have the bouncing ball so you can sing along.
Learn the jingle, right?
I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, listen, every now and then we have to have something roofing related on our social media. It doesn't look like we're roofing up here sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's a huge piece though, right? Is like, yeah, it's great to showcase the roofing, but really people by people, right? And they want to trust you as a person. And the fact that they see that side of you guys and get to know you or feel like they get to know you ahead of time, I think that's bigger sometimes than the roof, like I had a contractor say to me one time, he's like, hey, look, at the end of the day, we're all pretty good at putting on roofs for the most part, right? Most companies are pretty good at putting on roofs. We're all pretty much putting on the same material. So what sets us apart, right? It's us as a people, they're buying the people, they're buying the trust, they're buying the relationship more so than they are buying the roof. And so, the fact that you guys have got them kind of buying into you as people and understanding who you are, I'm sure goes a long way, in the community and in your sales. So yeah, very cool. So John, I got a question for you. So 21 years, obviously you've seen a lot, what was some of the challenges that you faced early on? I mean, obviously they're going to be a bit different because you were doing doing things a little differently than you guys are now, but what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced as the company has grown over 21 years?
Well, right out of the gate, I'd been married 1 minute when I started a roofing company. So
we got married and started the company in the same year. So
I had a brand new wife and I had a brand new company, and I felt like I needed to take every phone call, whatever time it happened. Because the first few years, we borrowed our way through the winter, and then we spent the summer paying it back just in time to borrow it again.
Yeah.
It was hard. And so I was doing easily 12-hour days, 14 hours. I'd still be at my desk at 9 o'clock at night and get up and leave at 6 in the morning. Sometimes, usually 7. It all revolved around me. That was the hard part. That when you're so small, you can't delegate. You don't have anybody.
Right.
And I got a little bit bigger and I really got burned out and I wanted to quit. I had a job offer that was decent. And I told Carrie, I said, I'm just so spent. And she said, well, take Tommy. He's your best guy and let him do some estimates. If he can't do it very well, then you can close. So, all right. We just continued to grow. We've grown every single year. Even in 2008, we were growing fast enough that even with the recession, we made more money in 2008 than we did in 2007 by just a few $1,000s, but our trajectory was massive. So I delegated to my first guy and I let him go do estimates, and I spent more time at home. And then it got big enough that I was really busy again, and I basically built another job for the next salesman. So I hired another one, and then I went back home. So I've tried to hire people for everything. And then if something's necessary, I'm the guy that fills in, because nobody wants to be hired for 2 weeks because your project manager's out with a baby.
Right.
So I'm the guy that I'll go project manage, and then I'll go do a sale and I'll go do these things. So that was the hard part, was everything was me. I paid the material bills. I called all the customers. I answered every call. And I had everything I needed to do in a spiral notebook in order. At the end of the day, it wasn't in order and things were added. And I had a second spiral and I would rewrite everything I had to do in order again, every night, book to book. And that's the part I didn't want to give up, because I knew everything. I read it every day until it was done. I wrote it every day until it was done. So I was really on top of things. I don't feel as on top of things now, but I have people to be on top of things. So that was the shift that helped us get out of that hole.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part, right? Like, because when it's your baby and you've essentially your company, right? it's very
Yes.
difficult, obviously, to let go, right? You want to stay in control of as much as possible. And I get it.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. But I think finding those people is a huge piece, right? Being able to find people that you trust and people that buy in. I mean, obviously, you guys, with what you're doing with the community and stuff, I'm sure you guys have a great culture internally so that it's allowing, those people to be bought into the idea, of the company. And what would you say? And I asked this question to everybody, and the answers are always interesting. But what would you say was probably the most important hire that you made in the life of the business?
Tina Hill.
Tina Hill is probably seen her name with the Roofr feedback also, but she was my very first hire. Like I didn't really get involved until like 2013. We'd been in business 6-7 years already. And then I started getting more involved in the office and, a little before that. But anyway, Tina, I was like, I need some help. It's been you for a long time. And now it's just me doing this part. And I can't, I need a little help. And so I hired Tina in 2013 and she's still with us. She's my first hire. She's still with us. She's family now. And, so we couldn't do it without Tina. So she's been our right-hand woman since 2013. So
is she like an operations person or internal, like office manager?
She's the office manager now, but really she could also be called operations. She knows
a little bit of everything. Yeah.
There is for the internal systems and wants to learn. She loves Roofr. She did the master class last month, I think it was, with Nick. We both did that and loves to give the feedback and if she doesn't know it, she'll watch a YouTube video or, she'll figure it out. She doesn't want to go do it, but she wants to know how to do it. So she's been a huge asset. We have a few others. We don't have turnover really. So, both of our kids work for us.
Jesse's been with us 11 or 12 years. He does estimates as well and repairs.
That's actually pretty incredible, right? Because if you think about it, I think that most roofing companies that you talk to, that's their biggest hurdle, right? Is labor. Getting people that they can trust, getting people that buy in and stay with them. Usually sales, there's a ton of turnover, right? So the fact that you guys have employees that have been with you for that length of time and there's multiple of them is pretty impressive.
We're impressed also.
One thing I've always been against, and it's atypical of a lot of startup companies, I think. I didn't want to scale faster than I could control. So I might have a salesman that's been with me 10 years and does a pretty good job. I might be able to hire a showboating salesman that can knock it out of the park, and I could hire 8 of them and we could scale so fast that I no longer know my crews. I no longer know what customers are being told, don't know my quality. We don't have the staff in place to do a proper walk around and all the things. So I've never wanted to have more than 20% new people in any given year. So even with Helene, we just worked harder and longer hours. All of us put in tons of work rather than try and hire 10 new people.
We had a little extra help, but not much.
We got a little bit.
Well, this is super interesting, right? Because I think this is something that, like we were talking a little even before we started recording this, is that I'm seeing a lot of the opposite now, right? Like you're seeing a lot of these companies that are coming into the roofing space that are looking to scale at almost like an alarming rate, right? Like to scale very quickly, try to get to these huge revenue numbers in the quickest amount of time possible so that they can potentially like unload the company to a private equity or something like that. And so I love this part because I think this really speaks to how you do it right, right? And the fact that you guys have people that have been with you forever and you're not just looking for the next, superstar salesman to replace the guy you have, like you've built this community of people around you guys that are bought in and trust you guys and have, like you said, they're family, right? They become like family. And so I think that we've strayed away from that. I know when I first started, a lot of the companies that you talk to, that's the way they were, right? They were legacy companies. The family was involved. The kids worked for them. And you're seeing less and less of that now. You're seeing more and more of these really like lean and mean sales companies that are just trying to pump out as many jobs as possible. So it's refreshing. I really like the 20%. I like that. I've never heard that before, but that makes a lot of sense, right? You keep that number manageable, and you guys have figured out the sweet spot there. But I can imagine that it makes a huge difference in the culture of your company and the way you guys run, to have kind of like this slow and steady growth. And like you said, it's worked. Like you guys have gotten bigger every year and done more work, even through some rougher times. And I think when these companies scale super fast, they hurt when like last year, right? We had nobody had storms really. Everybody's like, oh, it was a horrible year. No hurricanes, right? Like we got nothing going on, but companies like yours are continuing to just progressively grow. And so, yeah, very, very interesting. I like that.
I don't know that private equity was really in the roofing world was a thing 21 years ago. I don't think I'm not sure it was.
Absolutely was not. Yeah. No,
it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't even an option, right?
No. Yeah. And, this business was John's plan for our life. It wasn't a get rich quick scheme. It was like, okay, I got to build something to live my life and one day be able to retire, Yeah. And so we also have rental property on, that's kind of our retirement plan as well. But roofing helps, fund that. And so it was never a thought of one day we'll just sell this and retire. It wasn't that. We were thinking we might just have to close the doors, and then we need a rental. We just didn't know, we just didn't know
how's that going to work, right?
Yeah. So we just thugged it out every day and did what we could do. We just didn't have that scaling vision. We just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you a fun story. When I was 20, I got kicked out of college, and I came home to mom and dad, and then they moved away like a few months later and just left me, And I lived in a car junkyard in a 25-foot camper, and I was there for 5 years. I ran a VHS video store. It was just totally dead end, but I was always growth mindset. When I was off work, I was working on people's cars or find something I could flip. I was always trying to grow, but I was using that money to eat. I couldn't reinvest, Things have come a long way. I'm 56, so that was 36 years ago that I moved into the camper. And the whole rental plan, I owned a house before my parents did. So I was always, real estate will be good to you, and, just buy something, rent it out, let somebody make the payments, but make sure you have the money to make it if they're not in there, and the whole ebb and flow. And it's worked out really good.
So I said we didn't have that scaling vision, but he is growth mindset. So, but he had this vision to like grow steadily instead of grow and overwhelm everybody and everything, so not saying he wasn't, that's not conflicting information. He's growth mindset, but it's slow growth.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a different kind of growth, right? It's a different kind of growth when you're looking at having a company over a long period of time versus, hey, let's, we're going to grow for 5 years and then we're going to try to bail on this thing. Right. And so two very different mindsets, both growth mindset in a way, but just two very different approaches. And I think, like that, the slow and steady growth mindset that you guys had, and the fact that, you guys were able to continue to grow, and it just shows like how well that works, and I think, I think for some people, maybe it does work to go quick in and out, 5 years or whatever, but obviously I think that's a much, much harder thing to manage, and like I said, we're seeing more and more of it. You don't see legacy companies that are, in it for the long haul as much anymore, which is a shame, because I think that they're, it is like you guys are more entrenched in the community, I think, than a company like that would be, right? If I'm only in business for 5 years, odds are I'm probably not doing a ton for the community, right? I'm worried more about how much money, how much revenue we're pumping out, So, so there's a lot of things, I think, a lot of advantages and a lot of things that you guys are doing that are really positive that those type of companies probably aren't going to get into. Yeah, I like the slow growth, and I like the way you guys grew and how you added employees and stuff like that. So, because I think that's, for a long time, that was kind of the idea too, is like, oh, we just throw more people at it, right? If we just throw more people at it, we'll make more sales and we'll grow exponentially, and I think it creates more headaches than not.
If you throw more people, you got to throw more training. Without training, you're causing problems for yourself. You're actually not solving problems, you're creating problems.
How much time do you guys think it has saved for you implementing tech? Not just Roofr, but just tech in general. Like, how much time in your daily week, do you think you guys are saving by having tech in the business?
Well, we really didn't before Roofr. Roofr is our tech. We had, what was it called? Our CRM before.
It was Method, but it really wasn't a full CRM.
Really, Roofr's the only tech that we really adopted. It's all connected. I don't even know how to say it. We click a button, we send the order to ABC.
Yeah.
And we don't fax it,
Yeah. No, it's interesting that it actually has changed, because a lot of times you'll see like, like we're quoting differently because we're on your product now, or, measurements have made us this much quicker, but you guys have really adopted it across the board, and it has changed more or less everything that you do, right? From your ability to quote differently, to order differently, probably invoice differently, right? It's like you guys are able to handle the whole entire process in a much more organized, streamlined way. So yeah, that's really cool to see. I'm glad we were able to help with that.
The evolution of Roofr 2 with reporting and things like that, the performance tab, whole different. I never even really was able to track sales. I could track work done with my QuickBooks and my accounting easily. Yeah. We didn't really have a good way to track what did we sell this month. Just didn't have a good way. And so being able to see the sales performance by salesmen, and, we're just trying to kind of do an audit of like leads. Where are we spending our money? What's happening? That's all streamlined with Roofr. Looking forward to some new reporting conveniences coming out. But it is better than it was 2 years ago. We couldn't do a lot of that 2 years ago when you guys first rolled out. So you guys have continuously improved a good bit pretty consistently. So that's changed a lot. I used to have to literally flip through our handwritten call logs. Where did this lead source come from? And, when it was time to renew my TV contract, I'd do all this work to figure out how many did they produce for us this past year. Is it worth redoing? It was a whole different experience to be able to do that with Roofr.
I do like that. I can reach out to Nicholas, one of the engineers, just direct and say, hey, we've got this glitch. How do I work around this? And he'll tell me, we're working on that. Should be fixed in a couple of weeks. For now, you can do this or that. And ask us as a company, because we're one of the oldest companies that Roofr services.
Well, with the CRM anyway.
Yeah. So they'll ask us questions. How is this working for you? Or how can we make this better? And shoot, that's what we do in sales. We're talking to customers. How can I meet your needs? What have you got going on? And we'll put our heads together. Mm-hmm. So I like their business model, that they're not so lofty that they don't want to listen to the people they're serving.
No, I mean, it's been it's been kind of the driving force behind everything that we've done, right? It's talking to contractors, asking contractors what they need, what they would like to see differently than what they've used or done in the past. And, it's definitely helped to drive our product. It's interesting for me because you guys have been very tolerable, right? Like you guys have been on since early on in the CRM's life and hung with us, and appreciate that. And, and you guys have seen an evolution of our product too, and obviously we've been able to add a ton of stuff that's probably been beneficial, but you guys have stuck it out with us. So Roofr really appreciates that, and glad we could help.
Transparency. There's some days when they're like, everybody's like,
absolutely. Especially early on, I'm sure there was some.
And so somebody in my office was going to get a demo of Service Titan. I said, cancel that. We are not. We are loyal to Roofr. We're not. We're in this. We're not
frustrating days, right? I get it. No, I get it. Yeah. No, I mean, we've definitely, we had our growing pains too as we grow, and obviously we're always learning and trying to improve what we're doing. So I appreciate you guys sticking with us. So just to kind of close it out, what does the future hold for McClung and for you guys? I know we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, and you mentioned it, I think briefly, Carrie, that, the plan was kind of like from the beginning has been like, okay, let's build this thing so we can retire. What does that look like for you guys? Are you looking to do that in the next couple of years, or, what's the plan?
We're working on an exit strategy is the way to say that. We're streamlining our books to where other people could understand them and our processes and everything. We're making it something somebody could walk into and understand.
Yeah.
Which is harder than it sounds. But when you've been writing your own systems for 20 years and you just patch this and you patch that, there are things that need to be fixed. And then there are things that need to be explained. Mm-hmm. So we're getting all of that ready. And we would like to exit in the next couple of years. Nice. Whatever that looks like. We have other things we would like to do. I would like to spend more time when we have a rental going empty. I'll go put a couple months in that and just make it stellar again before it goes back out instead of being too busy to do everything you really want.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, that because we've invested so much in the community, I don't think we'll ever be away from that part. And so no matter what happens to John McClung Roofing when we are retired, we'll probably still be at those community events wearing a John McClung Roofing shirt. Whoever's running it will probably not be able to get rid of us completely. So
one thing, honestly, Pete, I've told Nicholas this a couple times, is that I'm above average interested in Carrie and I doing hit and miss contract work for Roofr. Because I know a couple of contractors that use Roofr only for the reports, and they have no idea how to do what we do with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, we could go in for a week and build their library, build some proposals, show them how this works, do some real demos, and get people launched. That's one thing nobody does, as far as I know. Service Titan, Job Nimbus, they don't have a couple that'll come in for a week or two.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting idea, right? Because I think you see there are some guys, but they're usually like a third party person, and they're not someone who has owned a company or understands the roofing space like you guys do, and have the history that you guys have, and then also have that transition, right? Like you guys know what life was like before, all the tech, and what it's like with Roofr, and how you guys have been able to incorporate that. So, I could definitely see the advantages of it for contractors, especially newer contractors. You see so many newer contractors trying to kind of figure their way out, and figure out what they're doing. And so something like that could be super beneficial to them early on. Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you both jumping on. I mean, it's always great to hear the stories, and so glad that you guys stuck with Roofr and that you've been Roofr customers now for a couple of years. And now I think back to the conversation we had back at RoofCon, and I know, obviously making that transition was a tough call for you guys, I know. And so, I'm glad that you guys have stuck with us and given us the chance to help you along the way. So, and excited to see, what happens here in the future with you guys. And again, super excited to have you guys as Roofer of the Month. I was excited. They said, who should be the next Roofer of the Month? I said, I've got exactly the right people. I know who it should be. So you guys were my choice.
It's been fun, and we enjoy Roofer, and you guys being so interactive with us is a completely different experience than the average vendor. So thanks for all you guys do as well.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And hopefully you enjoyed the story here with the McClungs. And if they can be of any help to you, feel free probably to reach out to them. I'm sure that they could give some guidance if you guys are a newer company looking to get started or have some questions about using Roofr. They've been with us since pretty much the beginning of the CRM. So they've seen it all here. So I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to answer any questions. But thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next time on the Roofr Report. Hey, everybody, thank you for listening. Check us out next time on the Roofr Podcast. But until then, be sure to like us, subscribe to us, and check out all our other episodes on YouTube and Spotify.